Thank you very much. The Refugee Council of Australia is an independent, non-partisan body, and we aren't normally here to support Green's actions. However, we think this is an immediate humanitarian need. This is something that is widely supported across civil society, including many of our member organisations and across Parliament. And the reasons have been clear for many, many years, as you've heard eloquently described today. The situation in Syria is one of the world's most urgent and increasing humanitarian crises. It's a crisis that is affecting children. It is a crisis that is affecting women. It is a crisis that we can do something about, and we should be doing something about, and we can do something about. So the Refugee Council is keen to support this call. We think that there is an absolute urgent need, and in particular we would like to reiterate the point about UNHCR funding. UNHCR, not only in Syria but across the world, is facing increasing funding shortfalls. And in a situation where Australia is looking to stop the boats, one of the most effective actions we can take is to ensure that UNHCR can protect people where they are closest to the country of origin. At the moment, 5 nations are bearing the brunt of the Syrian crisis. These nations are really calling out now for our help. It is not just a European crisis, it is a crisis in the Middle East. It is a crisis that the Middle East has borne for too long, and it's a crisis in which Australia can indeed play its fair share and which would also benefit Australia in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you. Well, I'm here first as an old man, which you don't have to qualify, you just have to get there. So 80 years of watching the Australians confused and sometimes brilliantly responsive to issues of migration. I look back now thinking to myself, 40 years in South Melbourne with the Father Bob Maguire Foundation and with a church, you were able to see the magnificent contribution that migrant people have made, some of them refugees, over the years since WW2, World War II. And one wonders why we've been looking so down in the mouth about welcoming people to come to this country now. And I also remember the time when I got very excited about the notion of the global village. When was that? 40 years ago or something, or 50 maybe. They said, "Behold, we have a new world." And I said, "What the?" And they said, "It's called the global village, and we're all going to be equal. And we can all go where we feel we ought to be." And I thought, that's marvellous. That's almost, you know, I've died and gone to heaven. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I think that that's what we need to try to champion now. And Australia would be the best place in the world to do it, because we've been blessed. I think yesterday in Melbourne we were upset briefly because of stoppages in public transport. In Hungary, they were upset over far more important stoppages of public transport because people were being denied access to railways and buses to get to the place they considered to be the best place for them, which was anywhere else except Syria. And I remember hearing one quote from a teenager who was fleeing, and he said, "Look, why don't you stop the war in Syria and we won't want to go to Berlin?" Simple. And I think we should be asking the younger generation. The 6-year-old child in a refugee camp somewhere gives you a far better estimate of the predicament than if you ask the foreign ministers meeting in Luxembourg. You know, I was a refugee and you held another meeting. It's offensive both to me as a secularist and as a religionist. But speaking simply as an old man, looking back, I think it's time for visionaries and dreamers, because Australia is that kind of place. It's wide open. And I tweeted, imagine at the age of 81 for God's sake, tweeting to the members of the Parish Without Borders, I'm calling them now, off to meet our apparatchiks. Apologies. That's not you. It means apparatchiks of social, economic rejuvenation. Look at this. It's almost Marxist. Otherwise known as Immigration Department. To beg mercy, or a fair go, that is, for Syrian refugees who will come to Australia and will in fact rejuvenate not only our economy but also our social fabric. The Italian villages where boat people have landed are the first ones to testify, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, that in fact they have been rejuvenated and they're looking for more. Please come here because we were a dying village and now we're, thank God for you, because we are alive again. And it didn't take over the village but simply were there as part of it. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak up a few words on behalf of the Father Bob Maguire Foundation and the Parish Without Borders. I'm not the official spokesman for the church, because this looks to me could be the beginning of a brand new day, to use an Aussie song, isn't it? Brand new day.